Hi everyone, welcome back to Mentor Monday. My name's Lisa Ireland and I'm an Australian author of contemporary fiction. My latest book is The Secret Life of Shirley Sullivan, and that's available here in Australia and also in New Zealand from Penguin Random House, so you can buy it at any good bookstore or from all your usual online retailers. So, now that the plug's out of the way, what are we going to talk about this week? I think I've actually got a bit of a juicy topic for you this week, and one that might generate a bit of discussion, so we'll see. It's author etiquette, how you should behave once you are a published author, or indeed, if you want to be a published author, what sort of behaviour should you engage in that will not hurt your chances of being published later on. So I want to start this by saying this is just my opinion. Obviously, there will be a range of opinions on this matter, and I encourage you, as always, to seek lots of different advice about everything on your journey to publication, but this in particular might, some of the things that I'm about to say might sound a little bit controversial. So if they don't ring true to you, you don't feel comfortable with them, feel free to talk to other published authors and see what their tips are. But these are the things that have worked well for me, or that at times I might have got wrong, and now know better. So I also want to say that if you're an aspiring author or even a newly published author and you have committed some of these sins that I'm about to talk about, don't panic. We all make mistakes. We're all human beings. We all put our foot in it at times, and I most certainly have, and I'm published, and haven't suffered too badly. So if you've done some of the things that I'm talking about, don't fret. It's just good to know why these things are not thought of favourably, and maybe just avoid them in the future. And also, if you feel like you have made a faux pas, if you have sort of made a mistake somewhere along the line, if it's a recent mistake, you can always apologise. An apology goes a long way. But anyway, let's get started. So I guess networking is something that, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on the type of person you are, is something that comes with the territory these days for authors. It can be a bit of a shock for some of us to realise that maybe we went into writing because it's a solitary profession, and we enjoy spending time on our, by ourselves, and some of us might even be considered introverts. Not me, I'm an extrovert, but I know many authors are not. Many authors are introverts, and it comes as a rude awakening that if you want to sell a book, that actually you're going to have to interact quite a lot, in fact, with other people. Yeah, sad, I know, sad news for some of you, but anyway, that's the way it is. I guess there are some authors that get away with not being on social media and not making many public appearances. Sadly, these days, those authors are fairly few and far between. So I think you have to accept that if you want to be published, that you're going to have to network with readers, you're going to have to network with bloggers and reviewers, and also with other authors and those in the publishing industry itself. So today is all about a few tips that will keep you in everybody's good books, in my opinion. So the first thing to know is that it's quite fine. There's many opportunities for unpublished authors to interact with published authors these days. That never used to be the case. Once upon a time, when I was trying to get published, that was the publishing world was less, I guess, egalitarian than what it is now. And also there wasn't social media in the formats that it exists now. So there simply wasn't the opportunity to directly interact with published authors. So I think that's a great thing. It's a great thing for both published authors and unpublished authors, because I guess for published authors we get to talk to people who are now going on the same journey that we've been on, and we get to impart a bit of wisdom, hopefully, and which is a great thing. It's really lovely to be able to pay forward the the great things that have happened to you, the courtesies and generosities that have been extended to you as a writer. It's great to be able to pay those forward to someone else. And also, someone who's aspiring now might turn out to be the next Liane Moriarty or J.K. Rowling, and I'm always excited by that. I'm always excited about seeing new and up-and-coming authors getting their books across the line. In fact, someone I know today, I as you know, am a member of Romance Writers of Australia, and there was a long-time friend, an associate of mine, someone who I have known for years, just in the virtual world. We've never actually clapped eyes on each other in the flesh, but we've known each other for quite some time. And I saw her post today that she has got her first contract with a Big Five publisher. And I was so excited for her because I feel like I've been part of that journey, not in a big way, like just, as an interested bystander, I guess. And we've talked craft many times and shared pages with each other at times. And so it's, that's exciting as a published author to be part of the journey of an aspiring author. So having said that, there's a few possible things that you might do as an unpublished author that you may unwittingly annoy a published author. Now, that's not the end of the world. They're just human beings like you. They're no better than you are. However, it is good to have published authors on side just because they can offer you the benefit of their wisdom. And also, sometimes they have contacts that you might not have. And if you're friendly and you keep that relationship nice and friendly, then you might benefit from that at some point down the track. Now, I'm not saying you necessarily will, and that's not a reason to befriend a published author. But I'm just like any other human friendship or relationship. There are benefits for both of you for the relationship to go well. So what are the things that you might do that might maybe annoy or set you on the wrong side of a published author? There's probably not that many things, but one thing you could do is I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, but one thing you can do as a pre-published author or as a newly published author is to tag them in a less than flattering review. You can write if you're not published, and like I said, I'll cover this off a bit more at the end, but if you're not published, go for your life, right? Write whatever sort of review you like. 1 star through to 5, say whatever you like. But if you tag the author in it, you're forcing the author to see it. Now, the author, I know, like some days I'm, really mentally strong and confident, and I can look at 1 star reviews and I can either, laugh them off or, look at them and think, actually, that person might have a point. It might just roll off my back. I might just, ignore it. But there are other days when I'm, and we've talked about this, I think, before, that I'm not always filled with confidence in my own ability, and I think most writers are the same, or very many writers are the same, of, we're always wondering how we did it last time and will we ever be able to do it again. So if I'm having a day where I'm not particularly confident and you tag me in a negative review, you're basically like knocking on my door and thrusting it in my face. Same with, inboxing me a negative review. I just don't need to see that. I probably will see it at some point. You don't need to tag me. I do check reviews. I do look at them. But I like it to be on my terms. When I'm having a mentally strong day, then I might look at the 1 star or 2 star reviews. But if I'm not travelling well, I don't want you to shove a negative review on my face. So that's one thing you can do, is tag authors in a negative review. Feel free to tag us in positive reviews. We like that. What else can you do that's a bit annoying? I really dislike and think it's discourteous when an aspiring author or a newly published author, published authors are probably the worst offenders of this, they will personally friend me on a social media platform. So like on Facebook, they'll friend me. And then 3 seconds later, they'll invite me to like their page. And what that shows me is that they're not interested in me as a person. They don't care if we have anything in common. They're not looking to build a relationship. They're just promoting themselves to me, and I'm not interested in that. And so... And I feel affronted that they haven't even bothered, buy me dinner first. Not literally. But what I mean is find out a little bit about me, find out what I like, find out that maybe we both love dogs and have a conversation about our dogs, before you shove your page under my nose. So that's a really big no-no, and it's one that I find many self-published authors, and I guess it's possibly because people are looking for the widest audience possible, and I understand that. I understand that we're all trying to sell something here, but it's not a great marketing tactic, I don't believe, whether it's to a published author or anyone. That's just a rule for anyone. You don't friend someone and then stick your page right under their nose 2 minutes later, because it doesn't feel that nice. It doesn't feel like real friendship to me. And that's what you should, when you're talking about networking with other people, whether it be readers, bloggers, reviewers, other authors, we're looking to make real connections here. If you go into it that way, if you go into any sort of networking activity that you do with the goal of making real connections with other people, you can't go wrong, because people love that. People love to connect with like-minded people, and it'll work. You'll meet people that are like you, and it will blossom from there. So don't aggressively market to your fellow authors. They don't like it. And on that, just while we're on that, another thing that you can do that can not come off so well is joining an authors group specifically to promote your own work, and promoting your work within another authors group. That's not cool. It's not. I'm not talking about when you're invited to another authors group to show off your stuff. That's super cool. You've been invited to do it. Go for broke. It's also cool to recommend other authors' work if that's the type of group it is. Like, so for instance, in The Secret Life of Authors, which is my reader group along with Rachel Johns and Sally Hepworth, we encourage readers to recommend good books within the group. They don't have to be our books. They can be anybody's books. That's perfectly fine. So, maybe if you've networked well and you've got lots of author friends and they're in these groups, then maybe they'll recommend your book. But it's not really a great look to be recommending your own book, because it's self-serving. And it makes me think, if you're a member of my reader group and you're promoting your own stuff in there, again, it makes me think that you're not really interested in me or my writing or my group and our activities. You're actually interested in just siphoning off my readers, and that doesn't feel nice either. I love to share. I love to share other authors' great work, and I think most authors, particularly in Australia, and look, really even internationally, because I don't know loads of international authors, but I do know a few. And I think authors do love to share great writing and great books, and they're happy to share other authors' work. So there's no need for you to do it. I'm always dismayed when a reader will ask in our group and say, does anyone, like, for instance, if there's been a reader's posted a rural romance, for instance, say Maya Linnell's lovely Bottle Brush Creek, I think that's the title, I've gone blank all of a sudden, but say someone has posted a photo of that, said, read this on the weekend, it's fantastic, can anyone recommend another great rural romance? It would be cool for me to go in and say, you know what, the rural romance I love the most on earth is Rachel Johns' Man Drought. That is just a spectacular story. It's an old one, but it's a good one, and, give that a go. It would not be cool for me to come in and say, well, oh, I'm glad you like Maya's. You may like my book, Feels Like Home. Like, it's just not the done thing to do, is it? Let someone else say it. And if you hold back, someone probably will say it. Maybe not that time, but the next time. If you're building networks and making friends, eventually someone will recommend your book. And it's much more powerful when the recommendation comes from someone that isn't actually the author. An author recommending their own book is not really much of a recommendation, to be honest. Okay, so that's number 2. Don't recommend your own book, or don't hijack other authors' reader groups for your own use. Not cool. And I guess the last thing is harking back to reviews again, which I've got 2 things to say about. And this is not so much for aspiring authors, this is more if you're actually published yourself. Please be aware that if you are published yourself and you post negative reviews for other authors, that's not going to go so well for you. Here are some of the negatives that can come out of that. First of all, the author who sees that review is not likely, you're not endearing yourself to that person, because authors are human beings. And if you are friendly with the author, or even if you're not, but particularly if you've been friendly with the author online and then you leave a 3-star review with some sort of, negative comment or even lukewarm comment, the author is not going to be thrilled by that, and they are possibly not going to be as interested in pursuing the friendship, the relationship, the networking with you. They're also pretty unlikely to choose your book to recommend to their readers. They're not likely to read your book. They're not likely to promote your book. And that might sound vindictive, but it's just human nature. It's not any sort of set, sort of horrible, vendetta or anything. It's just that if for instance, if I have been if I've got to know someone, and they don't have to have reviewed my book, but if I've got to know an author and they've always been lovely and friendly online, and of course, as a human being, I'm going to be far more interested in promoting their work than I am with someone who's left a critical review for me. It's just human nature. So, that's not going to go so well. But far worse than that is 2 other things, is that readers are often suspicious of authors that leave negative reviews for other authors. Readers just don't like it because they, to readers it could look like sour grapes. It could look like you're trying to talk down other authors to promote yourself. Readers don't like that. And the third group of people that might not be happy with it are publishers. So if you read a book, leave a negative review for particularly someone at your own publishing house, that it would be very deeply frowned upon. Not that the publishers are trying to control you or whatever, but I think there's really, we're in this together and there's room for all of us. So it's not about being controlled and not being allowed to. You're allowed to. You can do whatever you want. No publisher is going to not pick up your book, or there's not going to be a direct negative consequence. It's just not well thought of. And I think in this industry, there's lots of ups and downs. We should be supporting each other and pushing each other up, rather than, leaving negative reviews for each other. Now, fortunately, that's rarely ever happened to me. It has happened a couple of times, but not very often. But I do know, as authors get bigger and bigger and bigger, once they have massive readerships, people think that the author will never see the review. They don't realise that those authors were once an aspiring author. They're just a human being. They're just like you, and they still do read the reviews. Maybe not every single one, but there is every chance that they will see your review and their feelings will be hurt. So, first of all, you as a colleague, you are possibly hurting another colleague's feelings. You are possibly putting readers off your own books because it possibly looks like sour grapes. Even if it's not sour grapes, it doesn't have to be. It could be a very honest and legitimate review. I'm certainly not suggesting that people do this out of spite, or it could be the most honest review on earth. It just doesn't need to be there. I'm certainly not suggesting that you post reviews that are not legitimate. I never 5-star a book unless I truly believe it's a 5-star book. I don't review books that I don't love. I, as a published author, very, very rarely review books these days, but every now and then a book will come along that'll just blow my socks off, and I have to share that with the world. But if I didn't love it, I don't need to share that with the world. There's enough readers out there that are going to, put their honest review out. The world doesn't need my negative review, and the author certainly doesn't. So I guess that would be my take on it. Other authors may have different opinions, but my considered opinion is lift other authors up if you can. If you can't, I would just stay silent. If you don't, that old adage, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. I guess the next thing and the final thing that I want to say is just about once you are published, about responding to reader reviews. Unfortunately, this is not a thing. Do not respond. That cannot end well for you. Unless the response is, thank you very much for your review, I greatly appreciate it, that's fine. If you've got positive reviews, it's perfectly fine to respond. If the review is negative and you want to respond, it's fine to say something like, thank you for taking the time to review my book and to share your thoughts with me, I greatly appreciate it. Do not argue. If you can't bring yourself to say thank you, again, don't say anything at all. That won't go well for you. Sometimes what readers say is unfair. Sometimes they'll call you out for things and tell you, there'll be sometimes Australian authors suffer from when they have Australian books with Australian English in the international marketplace. We'll get particularly American readers telling us that the spelling is wrong, and I guess that's something that perhaps could be very gently addressed. But sometimes people can be abusive over little things like that. It's best to just walk away from the review, even if the reader is wrong, even if you've researched the book and you know that something is a fact and the reader tells you it's wrong. There's no point arguing. Just walk away. Say thank you if you can. If you don't want to say thank you, just walk away, say nothing. No harm ever came in this arena from being quiet. I think that's enough from me today. I hope I haven't frightened you, because, as I said, if you've done any of these things, they're not irredeemable. Just use the knowledge going forward. I have certainly put my foot in it, and another video perhaps I can tell you about all the times I have put my foot in it. We all make mistakes. It's perfectly fine. And please don't think that I or that any other author is being precious about this. I really feel like people don't talk about this stuff enough. This is the truth. This is how people really feel about things. And it's better to know than not know, because then you can take action. Okay, I think that's all I've got for today. I will see you next week for Mentor Monday. Till then, bye. See you.